Okay. Hello, everybody. It's Royce here, and I want to welcome you all to my Royce in the House YouTube channel. Tonight, we're going to be covering the mighty Led Zeppelin's album, In Through the Outdoor, their 8th studio album. First thing I want to do is I want to introduce my panel here. Sitting next to me is Michael Nolan, the Bottom Line, fastest growing YouTube channel I've ever seen in my life. Michael does a great job. It's all about content, folks. If you got a fast growing channel, you've got great content. Okay. Directly below me. Yes, sir.
Before you get on, I just wanted, since you introduced my channel, by the way, today is the last day of year 3 for me on YouTube. I have, with your show, I am concluding year 3.
Wow.
October 27th. It was October 28th, 2021, after the pandemic. So I didn't get a lot of my subscribers from that pandemic boost. I was too late to the game. But in 3 years, the channel has hit 42,854 subscribers.
Yeah, see, that's absolutely incredible.
Absolutely. I now have well over 1,100 videos for anybody to watch.
Right.
And a ton of polls. That come on over to the channel, folks. I'm serious. Come to my channel page. There's tons of stuff to do. I've purposely done that. Guess what else, Royce? It's still, it hasn't clicked for today, but I am anticipating beating in 3 years 9,900,000 views on my channel. And I want to thank every single person on this panel who has supported me, and you guys that are watching this stream tonight.
Yeah,
I couldn't have done it without you.
No,
and
that's right.
Tomorrow I begin season 4 of The Bottom Line. So thank you. Sorry, guys, but I'm good at shamelessly plugging
so
myself.
bashful.
And that's fine. And that's fine. You do it for other people too. I'm a
yes, I do.
That. So thank you. Directly below Michael Nolan, the Bottom Line, is Chris Elliott, our co-host. Chris Elliott.
Hello, everybody.
Super knowledgeable from Canada. He really knows his stuff, and we really appreciate his input on the show. Next to him and directly below me is our good friend Novice Nick. Again, like Chris, super knowledgeable. It really brings a lot to the show, and we really appreciate having him here. Now,
hey, Royce, I wanted to say something about this panel. I really like how this panel has turned out in the last month.
We've been dealing.
The 4 of us are jiving. We haven't had this kind of jiving since we used to have Bruce Cologne and Dan McNew, yourself, and I.
Yeah,
the 4 of us had an energy. I'm feeling that same kind of energy with this panel.
It's been growing, Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Before I get started on the show, I want to just say hi to a few people in the chat. Dr. Rick, good to see you, brother. Eric Schultz, I guess we got our problem solved, Eric. Angela, good to see you, Angela. Thanks for showing up.
Oh, God, everybody's up here.
Yeah, our own Caitlin Stoddard. Good to see you, Kate. And incidentally, Caitlin's Magical Corner, go check her out. She's got a fun show.
I was over at your stream James's stream earlier this morning, and Caitlin was up there, and I just didn't have time to, give my usual witticisms. But great stream. I love the way James was all made up. He was all Indiana Jones'd out. Good job, James.
The only one I haven't, well, there's 2 that I haven't mentioned now. They keep coming on. George, music for all 4 seasons. I highly recommend everybody go check out, whether you're watching the show tonight live or you come on later, please go check out George, music for all 4 seasons. He's got a wonderful podcast. And also, we've been joined by, let's see, hold on, folks. Dan Goucher, my good buddy Dan Goucher. How you doing? You 4 are, in fact, Led Zeppelin.
You know what? You're reading off names that are the meat and potatoes of this channel. These are people who have supported this channel through thin and thick times. So we appreciate y'all. And there's more of you. We'll get to you as the evening goes.
Dwayne Wadilka. How do we say that? Waldico, Dwayne, Dwayne, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you. Okay, let's get right into it. In Through the Outdoor, Led Zeppelin's 8th studio album, okay, recorded in just 3 weeks in November and December of 1978 at ABBA's Polar Studios in Stockholm, Sweden, and released by their label, Led Zeppelin's own label, Swan Song Records, on the 22nd of August in the US and the 24th of August in the UK. Unlike earlier Zeppelin albums, In Through the Outdoor was dominated musically, Michael will enjoy this, by bassist and keyboardist John Paul Jones. It was the band's last release before the death of their drummer John Bonham in September of 1980, and their disbandment as a group. Okay, 3 months later. So anyway, that's a heartbreaking thing right there for all of us. God only knows what might have happened, in the 1980s with Led Zeppelin. So anyway, the album was a huge commercial success. It went to number 1 on the U.S. Billboard 200 in its second week on the American chart. It also went to number 1 in the UK, Canada, and New Zealand. Okay, so let's get into the background of a little bit.
Also, Royce, when it was released, just like Physical Graffiti, when it was released, every single Led Zeppelin album went back on the top 100 Billboard list.
Yeah,
only the Beatles, Pink Floyd, and Zeppelin
that happened,
could do that. Back in the days, the Stones, maybe.
That happened twice. The earlier time was right before Physical Graffiti. Every single one of their albums was on charting, and the second time was right here. 8th studio album came out, and they were all on the chart. Just like insane.
And let's make it clear, because if there's an album with potholes, this is the one. We'll be discussing that tonight, but it's sold so well. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. We talked about this. Please go to last week's stream if you haven't seen it, because matter of fact, go back. If you've missed anything on Led Zeppelin, you're missing part of the story, because we've been weaving this all on purpose. Now, that live album, The Song Remains the Same, sold so well and was the closest thing to a Led Zeppelin greatest hits. It also had a very heavily fan supported film out in major things. So people had reawakened to the fact that Zeppelin was still around. And I think a lot of the initial sales for this album, because if you look at its sales in total compared to others, it's not quite the success story it was at launch. And that's because I don't think this album is the strong. Matter of fact, I'll say it tonight for the first time. I've always given this, out of their 9 albums, the number 8 position. I've slipped it to 9. Coda is a much better Led Zeppelin album. And we'll be talking about that one coming up too. So
Michael, this is far from my favorite album as well.
This is my least favorite studio album.
I like on Michael's thought about the release of Song Remains the Same. It helped invigorate people that weren't able to get to a concert. They put the band in front of more people's eyes.
Yeah, good point.
That's what helped bring this album up. I really enjoyed this album, but we'll get to that in a minute.
First of all, any criticism I have of this album tonight, I just want to put this disclaimer based on what Nick just said. It's a Led Zeppelin didn't make bad albums. Okay, it's a great album. I consider all 9, and my original assessment of Led Zeppelin when my channel first started was they had 7 masterpieces and 2 good albums. And I've renegotiated that, because after 2 years of listening to more Zeppelin than I ever did in my life, I'm telling you, they're all masterpieces.
No, but I know.
In my opinion, tonight's masterpiece is the lesser one. But
we still have our ranking. We definitely still have our ranking.
Yeah.
Okay, so the album was named by the group to describe its struggles after the death of Robert Plant's son Karac in 1977. And the taxation exile, they were tax exiles from their home, UK. The exile resulted in the band not being able to tour in the UK for more than 2 years, and therefore trying to get back was like trying to get in through the outdoor. Okay. All right. So that's kind of where the title was all coming from. The group began rehearsing material in September 1978. After 6 weeks, they traveled to Polar Studios in Stockholm to begin recording. In contrast to previous Led Zeppelin albums, Into the Outdoor features much greater influence on the part of bassist and keyboardist John Paul Jones and vocalist Robert Plant, and relatively less from drummer John Bonham and guitarist Jimmy Page.
Can I make
Bonham was, pardon me?
May I make a comment about that before you continue?
Yes.
What you're saying, the Jones and Plant had more input. It was basically
Yes.
Page and Bonham were not exactly early risers at the time, and whoever got to the studio first got to pretty much take control of that day's recording.
Well, that's 100% correct. But
not only were they not early risers, they were absolutely at their worst low point in their lives. They, Bonzo with they were both doing drugs and alcohol, but with Bonzo, it was alcohol.
Yeah, Bonzo was struggling with alcoholism,
and Jimmy with harder stuff,
heroin addiction.
Right.
Jones later said, many of the songs were consequently put together by Plant and Jones during the day, with Page and Bonham adding their parts late at night. Jones was inspired by his Yamaha GX1 synthesizer he had just purchased, and he was working closely with Robert, something which hadn't happened in the past. So that's kind of interesting. So you can see why, all of their albums kind of have a different twist to them. After the recording sessions at Polar, the album was mixed at Page's personal studio at his home in Plumpton. Now these songs, Wearing and Tearing, Ozone Baby, and Darlene, the last being a boogie woogie based song, credited to all band members, that last song, were recorded during sessions for this album, but were dropped because of space constraints.
Yeah, they should have dropped a couple of cuts they used and put those on. As far as I'm concerned,
later released on Coda. Now, what I want to talk about is before we get into some more meat and potatoes, and this is kind of meat and potatoes too, as far as I'm concerned, the album sleeve packaging and artwork. Okay,
brilliant.
The album artwork was designed by Hypnosis, which had been typical for some time. The Hypnosis is Storm Thorgerson. Okay, in 1980, Hypnosis was nominated for a Grammy Award in the category of Best Album Package for Into the Outdoor. The original album featured an unusual gimmick. The outer sleeve was made to look like a plain brown paper bag, manager Peter Grant's idea, reminiscent of similarly packaged bootleg albums and sleeves, and white line art and the white line artwork. Yeah, there you go. I've got mine sitting right here behind me. It's kind of hard.
I figured I'd show it while you talk about it.
Yeah, go for it, man. Okay, so the inner sleeve featured black and white light line artwork, which when wiped with a wet rag or sponge would activate an invisible ink and become permanently colored. Now that's just the original. That's not like all our remasters here, okay? There were also 6 different album sleeve variants. Now hold on, folks. I'm going to put that up. We have 6 different...
And by the way, I've got a video I just put out maybe 2 weeks ago, so I encourage everybody to go see it, all dedicated to this album, and I put up all the artwork on that video. So if you're ever wondering, what are the other covers like? I always wanted the cover with the guy up close.
Yeah. Okay, well, here I've got the picture now up of the 6 covers. And the sleeve variants are
the upper right, man. That's the one I always wanted, man. Yeah, that's the one they should have chose as the main one.
The sleeves are all their variants, and they're labeled A through F, each one featuring a different pair of photos from the front and the back covers, and the external brown paper sleeve meant that it was impossible for record buyers to tell which sleeve they were getting, A through F, right?
Yeah, and I think the two photos you get these days is the one in your upper left and then on the back, the lower right. Isn't that right? Or is it the center lower? It's one of those two.
Yeah. I'm not sure, Michael, off the top of my head.
Yeah. Let me see.
But the picture... The pictures all depict the same scene of a man sitting in a bar, and I love this part of the story. Burning.
Okay, it's the ones. It's the upper left and the lower left are the ones that they usually release it with now. All the ones to your right are kind of rare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, we've been joined by Joseph Blue or Joe Blue. How you doing, Joe?
Good.
Yeah, good to see you. We're working our way through our story on Into the Outdoor, and I know you're a big Led Zeppelin fan. So thanks for being here. I'll pick up where I left off.
Hey, Royce, take those pictures down.
Okay.
We can actually see everybody again.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so the corresponding letters A through F.
Hello, Joseph. We couldn't see you even coming up, so welcome aboard.
I just thought you guys might want to see what my face looked like.
Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
so what I like
about
about the covers, it depicts this guy sitting there burning a Dear John letter. Okay, and so the reason there's 6 variants, there was 6 people in the bar. There's a bartender, another guy, him, 3 girls, and what it is it's like the viewpoint. Every one of those pictures is the viewpoint of all 6 people that were in the bar. That's where all those variants came from. So anyway, like I said, the onlookers included the bartender, the piano player, a man holding his coat, and the 3 ladies. So the photo session took place not at a real bar, but at in a London studio. It was meant to recreate the old Absinthe House in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yep.
So any comments on that, guys?
No, you.
I think. Well, if you're talking about the art work, the concept, absolutely brilliant. Okay,
I really like it. Yeah.
When the whole idea. Matter of fact, it really for those who were into the artwork and saw the different aspects and everything, and that you realize, then you start looking at the guy.
Well,
some people he is center and up front, and for some people he's just in the background, and we all think we're in a major play, like the world's our oyster and everybody else is, co-stars to our drama, right? And here's this guy, the focus, of course, in the white Panama suit, hat, and all of that. So you can't mistake him as a fan, but to other patrons in the bar, he's either a necessity, like the bartender sees him,
right?
Because he's right there, and he's a business transaction. But to the other folks, he's far less important. I love the whole thing. What do you guys think?
I think. Well, I got a couple of points I want to make. First off, I want to go back to when you were saying about how this is probably not their best album, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How many bands would complain about everybody saying your least favorite album of yours is a multi-platinum album?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how many bands would complain about that.
Yeah, I don't think you get a lot of complaints.
Yeah. And
well, I'll tell you, everybody knows I'm a Beatle fan, and my least favorite Beatle fan is that horrid piece of crap they put out called Yellow Submarine. I'm not talking about the songbook. That should be reinstated and throw that piece of original garbage out. But you know what? Then Led Zeppelin's my number 2 band, and here's what I would consider my least favorite. My God, what a difference in quality! Okay, so
Michael,
ahead,
I don't think
Chris.
as many songs as I memorized as a kid, a Beatles song. Sometimes I knew word for word the whole album. We talked about that.
Yeah,
but I don't think I ever sang a song more than I sang Yellow Submarine as a kid.
Oh, every kid goes through that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Chris,
Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We're talking about the covers and that. Well, after Peter Grant says, "Oh, we can sell 1 million albums with a paper bag." Well,
Right.
hey, aside from that, though, you get that when you take it off, you need an album cover that's going to catch your eye and make you think about it.
Right.
Just to
Yeah.
offset that paper bag, almost like Nick, as you refer to it, almost like cleansing your palate. Once you see that paper bag, then you got something fresh
right?
and new. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the other album that they did a lot of trickery with photographs was rephotographing the brother and sister that posed for Houses of the Holy, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of care was taken in aspects of people in that picture. This one ups that like 30 times as far as concept, and then to wrap it in a brown paper bag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something so magnificent, and then delivered in a brown. You kind of felt like, Led Zeppelin was offering you their own bootleg, when you got it. But I'm a big fan, and I love album art.
Michael, while you have your album open, I have to ask you, what letter designation is on the spine, A through F? It's in the far left corner.
On the spine?
Yes.
Mine's a reissue, brother.
No, I know. It's still going to have
it.
It'll still
on the spine.
Yeah, the little skinny edge.
Okay.
Okay.
At the bottom?
But yeah, on the spine, all the way to the left. Mine says A. Mine says A, which is the original.
On the
mine just says Led Zeppelin. There's no identification.
No, wait.
There is a number on the right-hand side.
What does it say?
Oh God, just a big.
Okay, I think you may be.
B. It starts off with a B.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Mine's
this is a German repressing that I got. Yeah.
Okay, so let's real quick. Let's see the difference. Let's see the difference between the A and the B cover, because mine's an A.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's my cover.
Okay,
I'm not.
Yeah, same cover, brother. Except mine looks like maybe is he further away? No, I think he's about the same.
But anyway, the spine is this real little skinny edge here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
Can I put my 2 cents in about that?
Yeah.
That bag. Well, see, if it wasn't for they were so into the alcohol and the drugs, and we're so damn good at this point mentally in their mind. We're so good. We can put a record in a trash bag, because trash bags were paper back in those days.
That's what Peter Grant was thinking.
Still sell 1 million of them. And then,
I love it.
So they sold the trash bag, and then the huge surprise was the cover. What was the inside cover, where it was in the bar and it was all the different viewpoints.
Right.
But they if it wasn't for the fact that they were also so depressed and so downbeaten, that it could have been ego that had made them do that, as well as I don't want to say arrogance, but they were so beaten down from the drugs and alcohol, maybe so there's none of us can put ourselves in their place.
Partying, traveling, on the road, away from your family. I mean,
but they're also the pillar of success on top of the world.
Right.
And yet they're depressed. They have everything they want and they don't.
Right.
And that's a ditto for me too, Doc.
Especially,
prayers and well wishes, brother.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Dr.
Nick.
Rick. All of us are praying for you, brother.
Yep.
We hope it really makes a
absolutely.
huge difference. John Paul Jones used the GX synthesizer, a very hefty synthesizer that weighed about 600 pounds. Imagine having to move it around. He gave it to Keith Emerson. Okay. Well,
I remember right after that, many keyboards came out trying to emulate that sound, because nobody in my sphere of music. I'm a musician, but I don't bring that up. I don't think I've
Wow.
even brought that up in a long time. I'm an old singer-songwriter, folks. All right. I've done local circuits, every bar, every junior high, every bar mitzvah, every block party, and I've
Okay.
played universities. And I'm
Right.
going to tell you right now, nobody, as far as like Northern California, there might have been maybe two musicians who could have afforded that damn keyboard. So all these new keyboards came out to emulate that sound, and they cost an arm and a leg. It was
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
man.
They all,
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the songs here now. These songs starting on side one, In the Evening, was planned as the opening track for the album as a full-blown epic in order to show that Led Zeppelin could still make good music. I don't know that there was ever any doubt, but anyway, in an interview, Page explained that he used a violin bow and a gizmotron. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of the gizmotron, okay? Here it is. See, right here is the gizmotron. And okay, let me pull that back down. Pull that back down
That's
and
cool.
get back to the chat here. Yeah, I had to look that up, you know. But anyway, use the gizmotron effect on his guitar to create kind of a droning sound in the opening section of the song. The gizmotron is a mechanical bowing device that, you know, makes the guitar sound like a cello, a viola, a violin. You can create endless sustain with it. You know, haunting drones or bold polyphonic chord arrangements. The track features a contrast between the powerful riffs in the main part of the track against a relatively quiet middle section. Now, I personally really like this track. What do you guys think?
I like it.
Well, another special effect for this track was that they used a special phasing technique for Robert's voice. And along with the gizmotron, this gives this track a very interesting feel to it. And my biggest problem, and you're going to hear this several times tonight,
Okay.
Page, nice toy, but this, to me, this song is what happens to a 60s/70s band trying to get with it for the 80s sound to me. And I think the phasing in Robert's voice, they do that so they can drop him down to give the band a more powerful mix, by the way. And they did it several times on other songs and it worked perfectly. I don't think it works here, Royce. Sorry.
Okay.
I-
Hey, we
I
got to
disagree.
throw a couple of quick shout outs out. You know, Grateful Dogs has just joined us. He says, now
Hey,
this is a panel. Hey, Royce, Michael, Nick, and friends. Yeah,
Why, thank you, Grateful Dogs.
yeah, thank you, Grateful Dogs. And again, we've got Jersey Devil here.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for showing up, brother. We appreciate
Oh,
it.
yeah. Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Grateful Dogs. We're really happy to have you here.
No, that's
Okay,
a wonderful
I'm
state.
sorry. I cut Nick off. Nick, go ahead, buddy.
That's okay. Well, what I find myself disagreeing with Michael once again. I feel that it's part of the whining of the ups and downs of love that he's going through the song. It actually helps reinforce the feelings and energies of, you know, having all these opportunities at the top and not knowing where to pick, and then whining and being at the bottom, and all the opportunities are gone and lost, and he's whining because of that. So there's no making him happy. So that whining sound really reinforces it, and I think it works quite well.
Well, you know,
my
that's a
opinion.
valid counter argument to it. And when you look at it, to my statement, Nick, and when you look at it from those
Yeah.
eyes, yes, I can see that. So, yes, very. As a matter of fact, in my poll, we mentioned I got over. Oh, good Lord! Looks like 6,000 people responding to this poll. Uh, in the evening was. Was That's what we're talking about right now. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. In the evening, got 34% of the votes as the best track on the album. So, I'm just giving my
Okay.
opinion, folks.
Yeah.
A lot more people disagree with me way before you, Nick.
Well, that's the difference between a performer and someone that's performing it and doing the writing and all the arranging and all that, and
Right.
That
someone
could
that's
be.
just
That
feeling
could be.
the mood of the song and not being worried about the technicalities of how it's done, the
Yeah.
purpose of it's being
Right.
done,
Right.
and how
Yeah.
Yeah.
all that. So there's the two different worlds.
Yes, and
Two
that's a
different
valid
worlds,
point. The
baby.
second
That's
you
right.
pick up an instrument or you learn how to record or how to control a fader or
Yeah,
how to phase a vocal, which I've done. Okay, I know
yeah.
all that stuff. It does spoil the party. The second you pick up a guitar and learn a chord, you are now far more stupid than the people you are trying to learn the guitar for to impress. See, you're an
Valid point.
expert when you're just the audience. I've said this many times, Nick. The real experts are the people who aren't musicians, right? The rest of us, as soon as we made the mistake of picking up an instrument or try to sing or try to write a song, we became instantly stupid, and it's been our endeavor to climb back up out of the curve onto the sidewalk with the rest of you. That includes Jimmy Page, by the way. He was successful. I not so much. That's why I'm up here teaching instead
Well,
of doing.
there's something else to be said at that point, if I may. The
Yeah.
You picked it up and you were successful at learning the instrument. I,
Oh,
on
what
the
a
other
ride!
hand,
I love it.
about
Yeah.
8 or 10 years ago, I attempted to learn how to play guitar. I never had any talent. I was told that as a child, and I thought they just didn't want to spend the time. Well,
Yeah.
lo and behold, I don't have any talent. But what I did learn, which is huge, huge thing to learn by not learning how to play, was the sacrifice each player in the band must give to be able to say, I got to share all of this with all these people on
Yep.
stage. It's not just about me, it's about the whole. And
Hmm.
that was opening my eyes, because I never realized that before. I just didn't
Yeah.
see it because I never attempted it. But once I attempted it and tried, it was like whack! I got hit in the
Yeah.
face with it. Didn't learn how to play anything, but I learned the most important part of playing music, and that's the sharing.
Well, see,
Yeah.
what Nick just said, folks, is that he was smart enough to stay away from the damn thing.
All
You
right, I
know,
got one final
because
comment
Just
about
enjoy it.
yeah,
this
go
song.
ahead, Nick.
Okay.
Eric, go
Chris.
ahead. Chris.
All right, so it's like you guys said pretty much all there is to say. It. I was lucky enough to have seen it performed live twice.
Oh,
Because
wow.
the first two
Yeah.
Page and Plant tours I saw,
I,
that was their opening
I
song
envy you,
for the
brother.
tour.
I envy you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
Yeah, me
kidding.
too.
It sounded great. I mean,
Oh
Yeah.
God.
but at the same time, both of those tours, the first one had the entire Egyptian orchestra and everything from the no quarter. And the second one, they kind of cut that back a little bit. But for
Mm,
both of those tours, they had help with the opening of that song,
I
and
see.
it just enhanced it so much. It was incredible.
right, right.
That's
Wow,
great. I
nice.
mean, great
Good for you.
information, and I'm very jealous that you got to see those concerts.
Absolutely.
Oh,
But
I know.
anyway,
Me too.
I want to welcome Groovy Lisa. Everybody, go check out
Hey, Lisa.
Groovy Lisa's channel, and the same with Piccolina the cat. I have a lot of
Wow.
fun watching Piccolina the cat.
Yep.
It's really a cool time, and Groovy Lisa too. So everybody, check them out, Piccolina and Groovy Lisa.
Hit that.
So
thumbs up.
anyway, guys, I think we're ready to look at track 2. If you guys think. Okay,
Cool in the
so
rain.
that was in the evening. Okay,
Southbound Suarez.
now we're going on to Southbound Suarez. Okay, this is a rollicking piano intro played by Jones. Jones author Dave Lewis calls it a track that conjures up the New Orleans barroom feel of the sleeve. Okay, credited to Jones and Robert
Does.
Plant. It is one of the only 3 officially released original songs by the band, not to bear Jimmy Page's composition credit. Along with this album's All My Love, also credited to Jones and Plant, and Bonzo's Montreux from Coda, whose composition is credited only to John Bonham. Again, I personally like this song. How do you guys feel?
I enjoy it. It's probably
Okay.
my least favorite on the album, but that's not to say, like,
Oh, is
like
it?
I mentioned earlier, it's probably actually no. I'd probably say Carouselambra is my least favorite, but that would be my
Yeah,
second.
mine too.
You know, that's mine too. I was going to say when we got to it, it could have been 5 minutes for me, not 10 minutes.
Could have
This
been
was
4,
fun.
3,
This was
2.
toe tapping. Come on, how did you not enjoy this song? I mean,
Oh,
it
no,
was
I
just
didn't-
mindless,
okay.
mindless, blah 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 blah. You know,
Yeah.
there
Well,
was no
well-
thought involved as
Yeah.
far as listening to it. It was just an up tempo, fun, joyous sound. You know, that's
Well, I'm
all.
I
glad
agree.
with you.
I agree. I like this cut. See, yeah, it was 2 minutes 25 seconds.
Yeah,
Page in all these mixes almost is way too far down in the mix, and he plays pedestrian. But at 2:25,
all right.
Jimmy
Yeah.
finally comes to the fore, and listen to that to his soloing. That's Jeff Beck stuff.
Yeah, that's
That's
fun.
that's
I mean, it
Jeff
was a
Beck.
fun song.
And
It is.
Bonzo is amazing on this song.
He's even
Man.
better on the next.
Yeah, but it's like, talk about the pocket, Nick. He's in the pocket so
Oh,
well,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's not my favorite cut on the album. It's one of the upper middle ones for me, you know? I like it. I like it.
Hey, Dan Goucher's got an original, and he tried, dampening the inner sleeve, and he liked the way it turned. It was a watercolor.
Mhm.
Tried it, and it works. I'd like to get my hands on that and try it
Yeah.
if it hasn't already been done.
right. I
Oh,
didn't
hey,
even know
we've
about
got
that.
Vance Zeppel
Hey,
here.
Vance.
Hey,
Come on up.
it's-
Come on up, brother.
They say A to F. Yeah, they do say A to F. Mine's an A. Michael's is an A.
No, mine's a B.
F.
Okay, Zep Pearl again. I have all 6. The
you
the
dog.
ladder,
Yeah, well, that's about right.
the ladder is on top of the spine. Maybe that's what Michael has. The repress was not made in the 6 covers. Okay. No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to see you here, brother. Okay, let's move to the next song here, folks. Okay, so we've done Southbound Suarez. Now we're going to move on to, I guess, my favorite song on this side. Okay, side 1 is "Fool in the Rain." Was an attempt to combine a samba rhythm with a basic rock tune.
Okay, Royce, I just want to say, I thought we were on Fool in the Rain. Sorry. That all my stuff, I was talking about Fool in the Rain. So,
Try to
Okay.
keep up there, Michael.
yeah, I'm old
We're slow.
in my
We're slow
bones.
down.
No,
buddy.
we just now brought up "Fool in the Rain."
Yeah.
We're moving kind of slowly through these guys. Okay,
Right.
so
We're having fun.
this is
So
an
this
attempt
is
to
the one that
combine-
Bonzo is good on, and this is the one that Page plays a lot like Jeff Beck. All right.
There you go.
So
Oh,
there.
okay.
Now you
Okay.
guys can carry the rest of the song.
Now your comments make sense.
I'm
for me
caught up.
calling
Yeah,
this-
I was lost. I
me
thought,
calling this my favorite track on side 1. Okay,
Yeah.
so it was an attempt to combine a samba rhythm with a basic rock tune, resulting in a polyrhythm partway through the song. The idea was inspired by Plant, explaining that the group must explore new musical territory in order to remain current. And like I said, that is my favorite song on
Same
side
here.
1. On side 1. Yeah, same with Chris.
It
Okay,
also
Easily.
contains-
anybody else
Hey.
want to comment on this now?
let me
Right
finish-
here.
Before
Yeah,
you start,
it-
Nick, let me finish one sec.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
That
Please.
song also, I mean, it might not be his most technical, but it's certainly one of my favorite guitar solos from Jimmy Page's on.
Yep.
Just,
And it's one of the 3 or 4 times that he actually shines on the album,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
offering us something he didn't quite offer. We're so used to him on every track offering us yet another approach, and this one, oh, love it. He's a virtuoso.
Thank you, Dan.
The
Okay, yeah,
nice-
go ahead, Nick.
The nice thing about this song was Jimmy didn't carry the whole song. John Paul and Bonzo carried the beginning. It was beautiful work on the drums and the synth. And then as the cherry on top was Jimmy just ripping away, like you said.
That's what I meant. At 2 minutes and 25 seconds, that's when Jimmy comes in. Yeah.
Exactly. So the drums and the synth in the beginning was like, yeah, okay, we're rocking, baby. And then, Jimmy goes, you want to rock? You want to rock? I'll rock you. Here you go.
Somebody say rock.
Yeah, and Jimmy come and laid it on us. I mean, it's a great song.
Yeah. But Nick is bringing out an important point here, because what he's saying here is basically this is one of those great Zeppelin songs that the whole band is
everybody.
Clear and present,
Yeah.
Everybody in the pool. Let's go.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Are we ready? Okay, good. All right. Let's move on now to the final track on side 1, Hot Dog. I like this song for a lot of reasons. I did a Led Zeppelin met Elvis Presley show a couple of months ago. They had the same road manager. There was the same manager setting up all their tours, and he hooked Led Zeppelin up to a Presley performance, and they all went up to Elvis's room after the show, and they spent close to an hour and a half together, which was pretty interesting. But anyway, I really enjoyed it, and at the end of that video, and I'm really off course here, but at the end of that video that I did, short video, 7 minutes if you want to watch it, what happened is that Led Zeppelin left and was walking down the hallway headed for the elevator, and Elvis's door swung open, and he leaned around the door and started singing to the band, to Led Zeppelin. And Robert Plant, they were trading lines. Robert was singing back, and it was such an emotional experience for all of them that they all were crying during it, So, I mean, I absolutely love that video. But Hot Dog, Robert Plant actually does some. They were doing. Let's see. Well, let me just go through. Okay, it grew out of the band's pre-production rehearsals, where they warmed up playing a series of Elvis Presley and Ricky Nelson covers. Okay, Dave Lewis calls it a rockabilly country hoedown. Okay, I totally agree. That owes much of the state of Texas to the state of a particular female in Texas. It owes much to the state of Texas and to the state of a particular female in Texas. Yeah. Okay, Robert Plant impersonates Elvis at times during the singing, and I really enjoyed that. Maybe more so because I'd done that show on Elvis and Led Zeppelin meeting, and so I was kind of familiar with that. And we were both impersonating Elvis, me and Robert Plant, on that show. I think Michael even let people know. Okay, guys, any more comments on Hot Dog?
Oh yeah, with the country, that's in there. John Paul, that piano just banging away, and Jimmy, I mean, they were just having a blast. It was a hee-haw.
Having a blast, that's right.
It could almost be sort of like a Southbound Suarez Part 2.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is one
of intro.
Yeah,
a nice intro. Yeah.
Angela, thank you so much. Everybody, please hit the thumbs up button.
Yes, absolutely.
It actually gives us an opportunity to be put in front of people searching for content if we reach that magical milestone of 50 thumbs up, which I've done a couple of times lately, not as often as I'd like.
And you people made it happen in the last video. Thank you.
The last two videos, Michael. I mean, if you get that 50, the algorithm's out there. The algorithm's your biggest cheerleader. They want you to succeed, but you've got to be able to show them that people are watching your show and liking your show. So that's where that thumbs up comes in, folks. And Angela, thank you once again. Yep. Zepp Pearl, breaking news: a Led Zeppelin documentary, Becoming Led Zeppelin, has been announced for a May 2025 release. No kidding, Vance.
Who's behind that, Vance?
Wow, that is awesome, man.
Yeah, I'd be interested. Is that like a band sanctioned documentary? And do the surviving members have input into? I'm just curious because I've seen a lot of documentaries that aren't,
Yeah.
That on
Yeah.
them, and some good ones. But I'd be excited if especially if it's kind of, honored and, validated by the band. That would even be better. I was going to say about this song, Hot Dog, Royce. This is one of those, I said a few times on this album, Jimmy really, just with his chicken scratching.
Yeah.
Okay, he learned that from. We've talked about how Jimmy and Robert or John Paul Jones were half of Britain's version of the Wrecking Crew. There were four people that were on more records than the Beatles. Jimmy Page
Oh, yeah.
and John Paul Jones, and I always forget the other two gentlemen. I'm not English, but the other one was a guitarist who handled most of the country tracks. And Jimmy learned a lot from him. And this song is a perfect example of that man's influence, whoever he was. I'm sorry,
Well, I know.
I should have looked him up before.
Glenn Campbell was part of the Wrecking Crew at one time.
Yeah,
Unless it
yeah,
has a
but
different
this
name
is
here,
that
though.
chicken scratch stuff from Appalachia.
Okay.
And
I love that.
here's
Bluegrass.
why it works. It sounds
Yeah.
like there's tons of mistakes. It's and then you listen to it and you go, man, no, man, he's right on beat. But it gives that gobble effect to the whole song. That kind of feel to it, a real jaunty feel, and it takes you on. So this is one of my favorite tracks, and a perfect side ender. You always want a good opener and an ender for both sides of your LP, or all sides of your LP if you've got more than one.
Totally.
So
I got a couple of comments here. Vance Zep Pearl. I want to let everybody know that Vance has a great show.
Yes, he does.
He's got so much music. It's not even funny. Vance, I want you to know that before you came on, I was talking about your 10 album set of Led Zeppelin.
right.
And I was telling everybody just how impressed I was. I even went looking around a little bit for it, the other day, right after I saw it on your channel. Zep Pearl shows a lot of great stuff on his show. So check him out, everybody.
Oh, he's got a great
Okay,
channel.
so then we have Taz Is Me is here. Taz Is Me, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. Okay, Angela, good info, Vance. Chat plays an instrument. So who all in the chat plays an instrument? That's a good question. I'm not in the chat, but I play around a little bit, but I never got good like my younger brother did. The only time I could play and sing together was my mother lived with us, late in life, and she was used to my younger brother always setting up a band in her living room every damn day. And so she'd come in my office and I'd play and sing to her, and she'd sit there and tap her foot and she'd go, you can make some extra money doing that. I go, Mom, you need to put your hearing aids back in.
I got no talent for playing instruments, but I'm pretty good at listening to them.
Okay, Zep, thanks for stopping
There
by.
you go.
Zep's on his way over to Patrick's show, PB Thal, and say hi for me over there, would you please?
Yeah.
All right, see you, buddy. Okay, take care of Vance. Vance, love Vance. Vance is great.
Oh yeah. I was
behind-
hoping he'd get a chance to come up on the panel because when you talk,
he really wants to. He really does.
and it's not. I mean, his forte is Led Zeppelin, but he's very knowledgeable about a lot of rock and roll, and he's also currently seeing shows and going to shows, and very currently involved in the rock scene. I'm subscribed to his channel, and I consider him a source that I use from time to time when I put my videos together. He's a man of knowledge. Definitely.
Yeah, he is. Hey, Michael, Jersey Devil's talking about when we were, you thought we were talking about one album, we were talking about the other. He goes, how nice it is that the rest of the panel went along with your comments about the wrong song.
Yeah.
Well, there, to be honest, they're used to me going off half baked on whatever. Oh God, he's totally weirded out on this one. And I'm thinking back to what I was talking about, and I'm going, they must have thought I was nuts.
The most disappointing thing is Michael doesn't share.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, Eric Schultz, I
Okay.
agree with you, brother. I agree.
you
with
mean the song wasn't Do Bogart that joint,
That's
my
there
friend?
it is.
I thought that's the way it went, man.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, now let's see. We were talking about the show here a minute ago.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where were we now? Okay,
We were flipping
so
the album over.
we just covered. No, we're on
Oh.
side 2 now.
Yeah.
Carouselambra. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, a 10-minute track. Okay, dominated by Jones's keyboards and covering a variety of musical styles. Page played his double neck Gibson. It's called the 1275, which was normally only used on live performances. The group had intended to play this song live in their planned North American tour, which was canceled after Bonham's death. Anyway, my comment at the end of this one was 5 minutes too long. I apologize if that offends anybody, because we love all the songs, but this one was just, it just wasn't doing it for me like the other ones do. But maybe next time I listen to it, I'll have a completely different attitude. What do you guys think?
It may be its placement on the side. I wouldn't have chose it as a side opener.
Okay,
and it's my
That's
least
interesting.
favorite track on the album too. I think it meanders. Anything
Yeah,
that
it does.
Bonham and Page do here is spot on, but it's them servicing the song rather than the song
Right,
servicing them, which is what made Led Zeppelin so good. They wrote
Right.
this wonderful piece of music, and then they made that piece of music, that song, serve them. Yeah, and they'd offer us something we never heard. That's why we bought Led Zeppelin albums
Well,
rather than, say, a Doobie Brother album. And I love I bought both, but a lot of fans, they would just bought the big bands with heavy. And, this is why Led Zeppelin outsold even the Doobie Brothers.
I like Eric. Oh yeah, by far. I like Eric Schultz's comment here. How he always loved how Carouselambra goes back and forth between high and sunshiny, jangly guitar and the dark doom and gloom themes a few times. Oh, that's cool. That
Eric, did you make a similar comment on my channel? Because somebody did on my video about this piece. So if it wasn't you, I'll tell you right now, at least one person in the universe had a similar thing to say. And if you look at it from if it was on a John Paul Jones solo album, I would have been a lot more forgiving of this piece. It's not without its charms or its merits. Like I said, it's Led Zeppelin, baby, but it's just my least favorite. And maybe if it had been placed, I'm trying to think what comes next on the album.
Oh my love.
All my
that would have been the
opener, man. Chris, right?
I can tie this all together.
Okay.
Oh, good. Because.
But go ahead, Chris.
All right. I was just gonna say, I find that song is, if you're into it on the opening and you're kind of grooving to the beginning of it, and it's
you're gonna love it,
and it still carries and it goes through. But if you just happen to catch it and you're not fully with the opening, then it just kind of seems to drag.
You're talking about
I keep waiting for Zeppelin to arrive on this one. And they are. Yes, you're right, Nick.
But kind of find that it depends on. It's kind of hit or miss. If you, like I said, if you catch it from the beginning and you're grooving to it already, then it makes sense. If you're not really catching it at the beginning, then the rest of it just kind of drags for you.
And also, you got to remember the time, the album, all music is a slave of their time. This was considered a fresh sound and experimental. And
Yeah.
so I think your general listener at the time would have been a lot more forgiving of this track and even seeing it as, oh, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Here's where, this is that John Paul Jones you're always talking about, Michael,
Right.
And what Jones does here is fabulous. It's just the whole thing. I think I might have liked it better if All My Love was first and then this one. Just flip
Okay, so
Here's
go
where
ahead,
we're
Nick.
going.
Yeah.
Here's where we're going. This was a selfish song. This was a for us song. This was a song of pain. This was
Okay.
a song of questioning God. This was a song of why my seed, why my son, why is this
Yeah.
happening?
I can see that.
Why
Yeah.
is this cold of death so horrible? That's what this song's
Right.
about. It's about death and loss and pain and
Yeah.
being able to
Good
share
point.
that. This is a selfish
that's-
song. This
that
is
was-
opening
yeah.
up my heart to my fans. This is
Right.
what's
Right.
going on in my world. And I'm sharing it with you. A lot of artists don't do this. They do it on the edges, but this is a completely opening of the heart, in my opinion. That's
All
why
right.
Well,
it's a lead up to the next song.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Nick, I never thought of
that's
it
the
that
opening of the door
yeah.
of all of my love. All of my
Mhm.
love, all of my love for my son is gone, but I still have
Right.
this other love I don't understand.
Right.
And that's all
right.
the pain and the battle within themselves. So that's how I see connecting.
Well, I
the two songs.
really like the way you couched that whole thing. I really do.
Mhm.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense because this album does have a lot to do, even the name of it, with the death of Robert Plant's son. Correct.
Hello.
Mhm.
So
That's the song right there. That's
it's all
opening his heart.
Yeah, it's all intertwined right here.
He's tore apart. He's just
Yeah, tore
he's
apart.
laid
Yeah,
it out
I know.
for the fans to share. Whether or not
Yeah.
they captured that,
Yeah.
he decided to share it, and then followed up with All My Love. I was like, God, what a back to back. I can't.
Let
It's
me ask
remarkable.
you.
I think it's genius.
Does
It's
anybody know what that?
interesting because these two tracks I see as the beginning of Robert Plant's solo career. And when you see it in that way, both tracks sit a little easier with me. Uh, All My Love is just such a fabulous song. But to me, it's like is a big ballad like Ship of Fools. Not that they have anything to do with each other as far as what they are about, but this grand ballad
Okay.
by Roberts,
Which
the new
song are you
Richard
on,
Burton of rock, and so I maybe that's why some of these I'm going, and I'm a fan of his early solo career. I love it, but I don't see it and go, that's Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I see that's Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin, and
Right. Okay.
so that's
Which song
my only
are
thing.
you describing? The
Well,
two
I'm saying
together?
both of these songs
Well,
could have
okay.
easily fit the one that's coming up we're going to be talking about and
Yeah.
this one
All
in
my
Robert
All
Plant's
My
solo
Love.
career, even
Yeah.
though this track has a lot of JPJ. JPJ was just informing Robert where he was going to go in a
Yeah.
lot of ways on this album too.
Okay, so let's get into All My Love now. It's an unconventional love song composed by Plant and Jones when they were first to arrive in the studio. As we talked about earlier, they'd get there early. Bonham and Page would come in at night and lay their parts down, let their tracks down. Okay, they were the first to arrive at the studio, so they came in early. They composed this song. I really like this track. It's my favorite track on side 2, absolutely. Okay, now this goes back to what Nick was saying. It was written in honor of Plant's son, Karac, who died while Led Zeppelin was on their 1977 North American tour. How heartbreaking is that? You're not even at home when it happens. Jones played a classical-inspired synthesizer solo in the middle of the track. And again, this is my favorite song on this side. So, okay, guys, so it really kind of ties in nicely with what you were saying, Nick.
Yeah, it's that this is more of the pain and the love.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
John Paul really shining on this one, and Bonzo taking the lead, and then Plant, the three of them together. But first, first John Paul leading
Yeah,
in, Bonzo picking it up, becoming more powerful. The love, the power of love being shown through Plant's voice and vocals,
yeah,
and
right.
it's about family at this
About
point.
family,
It's
correct.
yes, and that's how I see all of my love. It's all I
Okay,
have. All my being is all my love.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah, I
great.
pretty much ditto what Nick says regarding this track. It's a wonderful track, my favorite on the album.
Yeah,
It's as and it was a this is what you call one of those songs that just come to you. They wrote it quick.
Yeah,
It just
right,
came from
right.
the ethos,
From the
you know,
heart. It came from the
and
heart.
but it's the
and
carryover.
but I'm talking about its hookability. It was a very popular
Yeah,
song. It's got a hook and a half to it.
Right.
hmm
Right.
yeah,
Well, as
Very
Jersey
good.
Double earlier in the comments said, it was perfect for the radio at the time. Just yeah,
right. And
Absolutely. I concur with that
and
easily. Yes.
and that's a completely different view of the song versus listening to the album,
yes,
because
Right.
there's
And
no
it's inter-
connection of the pain before this shows up. So it
and
has
it's
its commercial ability right there because they're not connected as a
it was
single.
yeah, and it was a chance for fans to sorry, I keep getting up for newbies. I have a back, but it was a chance for fans to mourn with the band. That's how you
hmm
felt. You felt their pain. It would happen later when Eric Clapton wrote Tears in Heaven.
yeah,
Yeah,
Remember how that happened?
yeah,
And this is when art touches the heart of and can make money for an artist, but screw the money. It's not about the
Yeah.
money.
no,
This was a real tragedy. No, every single fan and casual
yeah,
fan,
nightmare.
nobody should lose a child
Nobody.
Yeah,
ever.
these
You
these
know,
last two songs have really
right?
brought me thinking of Clapton and Plant together.
I always identify both these
Yeah,
two,
for
Nick,
yeah.
sure.
every
I
time.
couldn't
Yeah.
help listening to it. I couldn't help thinking of him as well.
Right.
Tears
Yeah,
in
So
Heaven,
the
a
line
one and another one that had a great hook. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah.
said like the one line in it. Is this the end or did it just begin? Right. I mean, that says it
Right,
all.
yeah,
right.
did Plant believe in God,
Yeah, but
heaven?
let's not forget that you got to tie it into what happened just 2 years earlier with
Yeah,
the accident. Him and
the
his wife
accident.
almost
Yeah,
get killed, and
Oh
yeah,
then
yeah.
being
In
kind of
Greece. Yeah.
to some
Greek
degree
island.
being forced into the studio to do presents, and then
right.
they finally
In a
get all their stuff
wheelchair down in the
together.
basement. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but then everything finally comes together. They go on the tour, and then the son passes away, and it's like, and now you mentioned Nick about explaining kind of Carouselambra. I think well, Carouselambra, in that same regard to what you're saying, could be picking up from where that left off with all the trauma around
yeah.
the accident and
Mm-hmm.
presence and all of that.
The
And then it
pain
would be
just
a good,
keeps piling on.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. Like, good, Nick. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That
No,
was great. Yeah.
I concur with that, Chris. Nick brought up a couple of major points tonight, and it'll affect me on my next listen, brother. Always does.
Mhm.
Okay,
I'm
folks.
here to learn. Yeah.
me
Right.
too.
You and
We're
me
all here
both.
for that,
The
and have a
final,
little
the
fun.
final, the final,
Absolutely.
and have a lot of fun. The final track, I'm gonna crawl. Final track on the album is a I really like this one
Yeah,
as well. Okay,
yeah,
it's a relaxed blues track. Plan arranged the track to be, in the style of the mid '60s soul music, and then and he mentions two of my favorite soul artists. Well, Otis Redding is maybe my favorite, and then Wilson Pickett was great too. And Jones contributed a string synthesizer arrangement, and I loved it. I loved this. This was a fun one for me.
Yeah. And I find this song has, to some degree, like as far as love and more physical relationship love than about losing your son. I find his vocals in this song kind of match his vocals on T for One from Presence. I think the emotion in both of those songs definitely comes.
Yeah, T for One's a
Mhm.
great. I love T for One.
Right.
So I just kind of
Right.
find them. They kind of, they kind of complement each other in that sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, totally.
Well,
So, okay, folks, let's.
This-
We got. Go
this
ahead.
I
is
was
Nick.
the
going to
end.
say my only concern with the track is with the album. This track pretty much says what I think about the album. And again, I think it's a masterpiece. It's by Led Zeppelin. It's just my least favorite, but it should have been, maybe the album should have been called Jimmy Page's Noodle Soup, because on the I mean he starts to play and disappears and off, and all of the stuff is just stuff we've heard from him, and that's my only problem, although I like the track in general. I just wish there was more Jimmy, and I wish there was more Jimmy on the album, so I think Jimmy, Led Zeppelin, I said this in my video, Led Zeppelin is better served when it's primarily a Jimmy Page / Robert Plant led, for the most part, written album
Right,
with
right.
just the right amount of Bonzo coming in to co-write and just the right amount of JPJ. And when you get a splattering of those writings, then to me that's the Led Zeppelin that I prefer to listen to, and this is, but again, I said this in my video. If they had continued, although both Page and Bonham said the next album wasn't going to ever be like this, they were unhappy with it. Okay, they didn't care.
No, yeah, they were looking forward to the next one, and then of course,
and they said we're going back to drums and guitar based approach.
That's exactly what they said.
But let's say that they didn't get their way, and that indeed they continued to go in this direction. Then maybe this album would sit better, because then there would be a canon to follow with this new Zeppelin sound that never fully materialized other than through Robert Plant's solo career. So that's my synopsis of the album and the last track all in one. I love the album. I own the album. I play the album. Okay. I love some of the songs. I like the worst of them, and I like the bulk of the album. But I just have that caveat.
Okay, we got a bunch of ground to cover here. I want to talk about the release. And go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like to finish up on the last song here.
Okay, good.
It's a masterpiece. You're ending up. You're going to crawl. Okay. Is he crawling for love? Is first of all the whole band's involved, but emotionally, Plant is just so in depth. It's the beginning of the healing for his heart. I'm going to crawl for love. I'm going to crawl. I don't know if he was religious or is religious, but is he coming to terms with that at this point in his mind? Is he ready to let the pain go? Is he finally ready to crawl for his life, for his wife, his family, to be able to move forward in his own life without being torn for the rest of it? I think this whole side is about his pain, going through it and healing, and to end at this point. Now, like you guys said, going forward, they're going to go back to rock, and this was something they needed to get past in order to get back to what they were doing.
Right.
And I just feel that without going through this healing process, it wouldn't have happened. It couldn't have happened, because you can't go back to what you were doing prior to all that pain unless you heal or begin to heal. So you just couldn't do it. I don't see that you could. So getting through that point,
It
You know,
has to be said that this album, more so than any other album, got brand new fans for Led Zeppelin.
yeah.
And there is a second generation of fans that consider this album, if not their best, one of the top three. I've seen lots of younger channels doing reviews, and I surf, and
It's a
Yeah,
emotionally more
we all
in
do.
depth,
yeah,
about feelings that everyone has and has to go through and conquer. Everybody's experienced loss.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Everybody's
yeah.
had to go forward, the hard part, with that loss on their heart. I
Oh,
know I
that
Mhm.
that
have.
that is the absolute hard part, Nick.
And they're getting these words and feelings and emotions and beautiful music to go with it to help
Right.
heal them as well as being able to go through what Plant is going through. So
Right. Right.
so how I just see it as a beautiful masterpiece.
Yeah.
As far as on that level,
That
it's not the
level.
hard
Yeah.
rock and roll. Oh baby, let's do it. Yeah, yeah. I mean that's great music and I love it. But this is on a different level, like Michael was saying. It's just
Right.
a
Right.
completely different genre, and
Yeah.
they needed to go through it in order. This not this wasn't experimental.
No,
This
they
is well
were
thought out in my mind, and
Mhm.
they needed to go through it in order to get back to whatever they wanted to do next, which was rock
right.
and roll, which they excelled at. They knew how to do that. That was easy, or it seemed to be
Right.
easy
Right.
to them. It,
Right.
it,
And
it was in
else,
their DNA, and
And
now
yeah.
they've done something that was hard. It
right.
create music that was uh, releasing the pain, opening your heart, and
Right.
exposing themselves and starting the healing process,
Now
exploring
remember,
our own mortality.
yeah, they were also, remember all of the headlines at the time that Led Zeppelin were considered, when this album came out just before, they were considered dinosaurs. Punk rock had taken over, and arena rock was being highly criticized by, especially in Britain, but it was catching on over here. And I think that might have even been the first time rock and roll receded away from guitar solos with Jimmy on this album, and later in the '90s, if you noticed, a lot of bands started eliminating guitar solos, and even bands with great
Yeah, that's
guitars
true.
would have abbreviated guitar solos,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
so. If you look at all of the music that was selling in the top 40, the top hits, there weren't guitar solos. Matter of fact, there was
Right.
very little guitar on the sounds. We were hearing Flock of Seagulls. We were
Yeah,
hearing
music
You're
was
Hungry
changing.
Like a Wolf.
Yeah.
Right.
We were hearing Synchronicity. We were hearing Thriller. And Led Zeppelin had to find a way to slip into this new age, new wave sound. And this was their response. And that's why I say, in that way, and it got them a lot of new fans. In that way, it was a complete success. But looking back with no chronological continuance, it almost comes off as a burp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me
Can I flip that on you?
let me say hi real quick to some people that I haven't had a chance to yet. Sid is here. He loves this album. Bought it the day it was released. Hey, Sid, thanks for joining us.
I'll see
Please come back. And then we've got my good friend here, Steve Midtham. We go back a long ways, and good to see you, Steve. And really appreciate you showing up and joining us. Thanks, brother. Okay, so I'm just gonna scroll here a little bit. Some of the chat I skipped.
Well, you
You can take me off the screen.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
think, and I do think
Okay.
Chris had some more to say.
I'm much more prettier now.
Okay. Release and promotion. The album was intended to be released before the band's twin concerts at Knebworth in
Knebworth.
1979. But production delays, as always, meant that it was released shortly after their performance at the event on the 22nd and 24th of August 1979. Plant jokingly referred to the delays at times during the performance in 79. So he's joking about the delays of the album being released. Okay. So the album reached number one in the Billboard 200 In its second week on the album chart, reportedly selling 1.7 million copies within weeks of its release. Subsequently, Led Zeppelin's entire this we talked about this earlier. Led Zeppelin's entire catalog, appeared on the Billboard 200 between the weeks of October 23rd and November 3rd, 1979. So in that 2 months, Led Zeppelin's entire, at the time, 8-album catalog was on the chart. Okay, an unprecedented feat, topping their own record in 1975. And I mentioned this earlier, when their album, all the way up to Physical Graffiti, their albums were all on the chart together. The album remained on the top U.S. spot for 7 weeks and sold 3 million copies by the end of September 79. It was credited with helping to revive the U.S. record industry, man. Revive the entire record industry, which had begun to struggle. In January 1980, Fool in the Rain was released as a single to further promote the album, but it narrowly missed the top 20 of the singles chart. It was the band's final studio album released to reach the top of the charts in the United States. Okay, so In Through the Outdoor is the Led Zeppelin album that has spent the most weeks on the top of the charts, tied with Led Zeppelin 2. Led Zeppelin 2. To date, the album has sold 6 million copies in the U.S.
As I said, it put eyes on the band and heard their music and got to see them. That's why.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
more than the touring could do.
Yeah. Can I just somewhat kind of tie a little bit of this in together?
Absolutely.
Like you guys are bringing up the change of genre, how it's more keyboard and synthesizer set. And like you mentioned, Michael, how you listen to it, like when you come into listening to it. I think if you look at some of the fans in the 80s and the synthesizer heavy kind of rock that was coming out there.
Yeah.
If your first intro to Led Zeppelin was something of that style, aka In Through the Outdoor, then the older Led Zeppelin is a completely different genre than you entered it. So it'll definitely pick up new fans, but it wouldn't overly necessarily mean that the rest of their catalog will come along with it because it's such a different genre than what they started with.
Except that the rest of the catalog did come along with it in sales. And on top of that, we have there's 2 bands. You could say 3. The Stones.
Mike, I might actually let me finish my point. I think we might be talking the same thing, perhaps.
Go ahead.
When it re-brought the rest of their catalog up, who was buying it at the time? Was it the people that were just learning it from the 80s and all the stuff that came out in the 80s? Or was it the older people that were listening to it and saying, hey, I know this, and then backtracking through their collection? They got a lot of new fans out of it, or did they just
Well, back in those days, the majority of your record buyers were still teenagers. And back in those days, people, when they got into their 20s, the average music fan bought less and less. So, no, I don't think it was, I think it was new fans. And I was going to say this, Chris, there are 2 bands in the history of rock and roll, maybe 3 if you consider the Stones, that continually replenish brand new fans every 4 or 5 years. Every 4 or 5 years, a whole new slew of 15, 16-year-old males find these bands, males primarily, and put them on a pedestal. And they do this by, absorbing the entire catalog. And so we know that at least 8/9 of their catalog has a sound, and this is slightly ajar. So I think it did introduce people, and it made Zeppelin even bigger because of that. And I acknowledge that when Nick and I were talking about it.
Yeah, I think maybe I misspoke, or maybe I agree.
Yeah, maybe I misheard you, brother.
It definitely brought in new audience. I'm just saying,
I think there's another edge to that sword.
Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think there's another edge to that sword that we're missing.
Yeah.
I think that when this album came out, it did gain new ears and new people because it was a different sound. But also, you take into account that the movie that was out prior to it, people
Same.
that hadn't really seen or heard the band, especially
Good
seen
point.
them, have now
Good point.
seen them, and now it's taking time for these kids to. Money's tight, so now they're going back through the catalog and buying an album at a time as money allows, and they're starting to go back and buy the albums that had already come out and been hits that they hadn't been introduced to before. So we got the new album sales with a new album, and you got the residual from the movie going backwards buying albums. So that, to
Yeah.
me, is what accounts for all of these albums being on the charts at the same time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Everybody's got such interesting ideas on this
Oh,
album tonight
I
on
know.
the panel.
I know.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I was, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
hey, we're talking about, their everybody says their worst album, and what'd you just say, Royce? How many millions of copies did they sell?
A lot.
Yeah.
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 Over 6 million, I think Roy said. So,
3 right off the bat.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so I think we're going to continue here a little bit, and critical reception into the outdoor divided contemporary critics and Led Zeppelin fans. Some found its synthesizer-influenced music inevitable but forward-thinking, while others felt the band had forsaken their heavy, fast sound. According to Jimmy Page's biographer, Martin Powell, predictably, in the wake of punk, as Michael was saying earlier, Into the Outdoor received a rough ride from some critics, with Zepp's veteran status in the music business now used as a stick with which to beat them.
Yeah, but when they first hit the scene, didn't they say the same thing?
Yes.
This brand new stuff that's going to be terrible until, of course, it sold millions.
Yeah.
So they're getting hit with the same stick.
Right. So, okay,
Well,
so this, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can't talk about Zeppelin or any album of Zeppelin without talking about the critics who hated Zeppelin.
Right.
Britain hated Zeppelin. Zeppelin was so freaking, almost slipped there, organic, that it reached the kids. It reaches anybody who's willing to embrace a heavy, occasional rock sound and a band who will go in other directions. It embraces that audience and it draws them in. And the critics did their best, right along with Jan Winter and Rolling Stone as the major magazine. Zeppelin couldn't get a good review from their album, from their magazine, until Led Zeppelin 4. Oh, gee, didn't that happen to Paul McCartney and Band on the Run? Exactly.
Jealousy
See what I
and
mean?
aptitude.
Oh, my God. Sometimes the music industry just enrages me.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so reviewing the album in Rolling Stone, Michael, Charles Young said Page's diminishing creativity resulted in a little good material to work with for Plant, whose lyrics Young found inane, and Bonham, whose drumming was viewed as heavy-handed. This brought to the forefront the keyboard playing of Jones, who Young said functioned best behind Page, not in front of him. Chris Bond from Melody Maker said the impressionable first play of the record had everyone in the office rolling around laughing. It's Led Zeppelin, while accusing the band of being totally out of touch and displaying the first intimations of mortality. By contrast, journalist Nick Kent argued that the album was no epitaph, believing its potential points of departure deserved further listening. Robert Christo also wrote positively, of the record in Village Voice, observing the usual lacks in the lyrics department, but regarding the album as the group's best since Houses of the Holy in '73.
Well, and here's
Um,
another thing. Twice you've mentioned in those readings there, Royce, that of a critic criticizing the lyrics by Robert Plant.
yeah,
Inane. Go back to any review of any Led Zeppelin album, and you'll see the word. It was like it was a word they all chose to use in their thing. Let's use this word. Inane writing of Robert Plant. Screw them all.
yeah.
They don't know
Michael,
what they're talking about.
Okay.
the
So
thing is, it went over their head, and they never knew.
yeah,
Absolutely.
over their heads. Yeah.
Way over
Okay.
their
So
head.
so he
Not so
said
much that went
he
over their
also
head, Nick, is they just didn't care. So
he went on
whether
to
it went over
say
their head or not,
he
they
went
just
on to
didn't care.
say
I
that the
think anytime.
tuneful
Sorry, Rick.
synthesizer pump
Right.
on side 2 confirms my long-held belief that this is a real good art rock band, while the Lollapalooza hooks on the first side confirm the world's long-held belief that this is a real good hard rock band. At the end of the year, In Through the Outdoor was nominated for the 1980 American Music Awards in the category of Favorite Pop Rock Album.
Good Lord.
I knew Michael would love that. Favorite pop
Yeah.
rock album. Okay. Okay. Following the album's release, Plant, Page, and Bonham all expressed reservations about the record. Plant later said that he enjoyed the variations in style from previous albums, though that he appreciated the album was a bit sanitized. Page said in 2004 that he wanted after In Through the Outdoor to make something hard hitting and riffed bass again, which got brought up earlier. Of course, we never got to make that album. He's also quoted as saying, it wasn't the most comfortable album. I think it was very transitional, a springboard for what could have been. Into the Outdoor was Led Zeppelin's final album to be released, with all the original members still living. Drummer John Bonham died the next year, September 25th, 1980.
Royce,
So, yes, sir.
would you write a letter to Jimmy and Robert and invite them to rewatch what we just did tonight?
I'll do that.
They might get some insight into their own music.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I really like the way, you got into that, tying things together, and then Chris Elliott joined right in with you, and just everything you guys were saying just really was making a lot of sense.
Well, great minds. Right?
Well,
before we conclude tonight, I think it's important to remember concerning this album that, and I have an upcoming video I've been promising to do. Where I want to compare this album and Presence, because
I think that would be a good comparison.
They are the heads and tails of each other.
Yeah.
On Presence, we have a very powerful and interactive and creative Bonzo and Jimmy, and a reluctant but affable go along from JPJ. And
right.
A guy just fucking didn't want to be there. Sorry, Rose. And then you've got this album, and everything's flipped again.
Right.
So think about this: if they had released these two albums as a double album, whoa! Now we'd be talking about this double album, because in a way they kind of are. Yeah, I always think of Rubber Soul and Revolver as a double album, the Double R album, Revolving Soul, or Rubber Revolver, whatever,
Whatever,
and even George Harrison backs me up on that. He said that, well, actually, those albums could be considered parts A and parts B. Big problem, and he loved them. He loved them, But I'm saying some albums kind of go together in that way, organically, and these two just complement each other wonderfully, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's probably
one reason. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rose.
No. You go ahead. Because
there's one reason you can't have it as a double album. It's called
money.
Of
course.
I mean,
Of course.
and
No, I
they are distinctly different, but yet
yeah,
they're bookends. Yeah, I
right,
see that. But
right.
Well,
it comes down to money.
they kind of bookend one Robert
Yeah,
Plant's two tragedies, right? The first one
yeah,
was
absolutely.
the accident, and then it compounded by his son.
Absolutely. That's the tie.
And together they represent a band. Uh, when fractured, and I love four-member bands. All right, yeah, like Paul said, the Beatles were a box, and
Yeah.
every Beatle had their quadrant in that box, right? And so I like bands that are four-member bands. I have a soft, uh, a soft spot for those kind of bands. And here
Yeah.
you've got two bands, two members not being able to do on presence, and the other two at a creative height, and then it flips on the next album, and
Yeah.
the two that were so creative can barely show up, and the guys that couldn't have been bothered practically on the first album,
Yeah.
come to the fore. That's a band, folks.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's why we grew up with those kind of bands, not the little shit holes that are out there today.
Hey guys, for fun, let's all respond to Dan Goucher. Was this their swan song or was it Coda?
Find out next week.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Swan song, because Swan
Great
song means
answer. Great
Coda's
answer.
next week. Be here. Come
That's
visit.
Okay, so
Yep.
let's move
I don't
on.
know if it would,
Okay.
if either one of them would be their swan song, because a swan song kind of implies that you're setting it up to be a final. They weren't setting up anything to be a final, so
Yeah.
by definition, maybe not so much, but I guess you could be seen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
don't give away the
chronologically, it
conclusion,
almost comes off that way. With Coda not being just a Coda, but an epitaph. Chronologically, I can see the point. That's
Hey,
all.
Joseph Blue, love your comment. Thanks, brother. Really appreciate it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to talk here for a minute about the 2015, what took place with the reissues and stuff. Okay,
Thanks, Eric.
a remastered version of In Through the Outdoor, along with Presence and Coda, was released. In 2015, July 2015. The reissue comes in 6 formats: a standard CD edition. I bet you guys. Yeah, I'll bet Chris has that for sure. The standard CD edition, a standard LP version, a deluxe 2 LP version, a super deluxe 2 CD version,
That's
plus 2 LP versions with a hardback book. Oh my
Mhm.
god!
That's a
Wow.
lot.
Okay. So anyway, let me get through this. And as high resolution 24-bit 96 digital downloads. The deluxe and super deluxe editions feature they feature bonus material, and I want to get into that too, containing alternative takes. That's the part I want to get to in just a minute here. Alternative title tracks like Southbound Piano took the place of Southbound Suarez, the Epic, the Hook, the Blot. These were all alternate names to the songs that we were
Right.
talking about.
Yes.
The reissue was released with a black and white version of the original album's artwork as its bonus disc cover, a replica of the brown bag and the colorable line drawing included in the edition. Okay, so all right, so Nick, you got a lot of stuff you're showing there. Should we focus on Nick here for a minute and see what he's?
No, it was just
Oh, okay.
that's the compilation. That's the,
I do want to get the 2 LP Coda.
Yeah,
all the
there's,
compilations.
I've got the original version of it, but
Yeah.
it's a much better. We'll be talking about this soon, won't we? But it is a much better album as a double album. Although as a single album, like I said, it almost is a tie between Indoor and the Outdoor.
yeah.
As a single album, but as a double album, Coda it moves up a bunch for me.
Okay,
you know.
so the reissues were met generally with positive reviews. There's more you can say about that, but let's skip down here. Okay, so let's talk about we already talked about the original release for fun, what I'd like to do is look at the
Great, Nick.
2015.
I'm jealous. I'm
It's
jealous.
a triple.
Oh
Coda's
my
a
God!
triple. It's going to take
You're
me.
freaking kidding me.
No,
I thought
sir.
that came in a black. I thought the extended coda came in a black
That's Coda.
cover.
Wow!
Well, like you,
No,
well,
Wow.
Look at that.
I for some reason I thought it came in a black
now how
cover.
do I flip that? Are
Reverse
you
of
seeing
it
that
is.
as Coda?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
triple
it's all
album.
right. Yeah,
Michael,
awesome.
So I got a lot of work to do for next week. Of course, we haven't reviewed any of the extra discs.
No, we haven't. Well, we're going to
No.
do a little bit right now. Okay, the 2015 Deluxe Edition bonus disc.
Oh, really? You got a bonus disc?
Bonus discs included.
Well,
Okay,
You're
okay.
white, Rappy.
you know what, Royce? I take exception you to calling the entire panel a name like that.
Yeah. It's Mr. Big
Okay,
to you.
so there's a rough mix on the bonus disc of in the evening.
Careful there, Royce.
Southbound Piano is Southbound Suarez, the rough mix. Okay, and that was Jones and Plant put that out. Okay, so
And by the way, we're mispronouncing Suarez. It comes off as Suve or Suvi or something like that, French or something. But I never.
really?
I found that out in a little ditty.
it looks like Suarez. Okay,
Well, that's
Dennis,
what I
right.
call it. I've called it that all night, and I call it that in the video as well. You know,
Okay,
that I
okay.
did on it. So
sorry about that, Nick. Okay, so next, Fool in the Rain. They did that as a rough mix on the extra album. They did Hot Dog as a rough mix, and these again, Page and Plant mixed those. Okay, and then Carouselambra, the rough mix was called the Epic.
Yep.
All of My Love's rough mix was called the Hook.
Mhm.
And then we get into
that. See, I didn't know that, and I told you when I talked about All My Love, I said that's the one with the hook. You know,
okay.
the hook.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, okay. And then then the rough mix for I'm Gonna Crawl was titled Blot. Okay, so that pretty much
And
you know,
for those out there that don't understand when I talk about the hook, a hook in songwriting is that part that
draws you in. Yeah.
that draws you in. It's often the chorus. Ooh, I need your love, but it's the 8 days a week. You know what I'm saying?
But
There's
when you
the
look
hook.
when you look at the Beatles, a lot of the hooks was the first thing they did. You know,
Yes.
whether
She
it was
loves
that
you,
little,
yeah. You know,
that
right
little,
there.
or
You
that
got it.
little guitar part on, you know, dun 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 dun.
Yep.
Bright are the stars that shine. Anyway, so it's that
Written
little
by
it's
George Harrison, though
it's
he
that
gets
little-
no credit for writing the song.
Oftentimes the hook is a little guitar intro too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just for kicks, Michael, I think the Coda album you cover is, or the black one you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the CD version of the re-release. Well, if I
Oh,
flip
look
it
at
over,
that.
there's the back cover.
Yeah, that's the album I was talking about. And I thought the LP came that way too.
I don't know, but
I
know
love that. I love that alternative cover. I love them both, but that black and gold, ooh, yeah,
Yeah,
my kind of cover.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that too.
Oh,
Yeah,
and that's another thing when we talk about it. Let's. Has anyone else ever noticed that Coda? Look at it, just round the top edges. You know, the two, the top right corner and the top left corner to a smooth round, and you've got a freaking tombstone on there. It looks like a tombstone.
I never thought about that till you said that.
Oh my
Michael.
goodness! And I noticed that right away, and I go, oh, you know, but that's appropriate. I love that. You know, laying to the rest of the band in honor. I love the fact this band never called themselves Led Zeppelin officially, and made more music as Led Zeppelin without John Paul Jones.
Well, you
You
know,
know, they
Dan
have the
Gouch-
one
Dan-
live concert, and with his son, and they do call themselves Led Zeppelin there, but with that one caveat, they've been quite honorable to Bonzo, and I say amen to that.
Yeah.
That was Nick. We've got to cover that concert, man.
His son really killed it.
Yes, he
Of course,
did.
they all did, but his son was like Bonzo Lives, you know.
Yep. And that's out in album form, Roy. So we should be covering that before we're done with this series.
No, we're going to. I've only got it. I've got 2 or 3 CDs with the Blu-ray DVD.
That would be a good last Zeppelin episode, actually.
Yeah, I've already prepaid for the album, and I'm on the wait list at Tower Records for the album, just not being made yet.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to spend $300
Celebration Day.
Yeah, Celebration Day. I'm not going to spend $250, $300 on eBay for anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Celebration Day. I have that on CD, I think.
Yeah,
I have it on CD.
Celebration Day. I got this one's a 4-disc set. The 2 CDs,
yeah, you've got
the concert, the Blu-ray, and also there's soundtrack bonus track CD.
Yeah, you've got one more thing than mine. Yeah.
Hey, Royce, before I forget, I've got something to send you. Email me your address again so that I got it.
Okay, sure.
All right, thanks, bro.
You got to give us 2-3 weeks in case one of us don't have the CD or vinyl.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we've got Coda next. We've got How the West Was Won. We've got The Mothership.
Don't have it. Yeah,
I don't have
so we can, Okay, Gringo Pines made it. Hey, Royce, thanks for the seat. Hi, guys. Wicked cool show so far.
Gringo.
You folks rock. Stay cool, brothers. Peace. Thanks, Gringo. Good to see you back in here. Gringo came in hours before the show started.
Yeah, he did.
And and said he was hopefully gonna be able to make it. So thanks a lot, man. We appreciate seeing you here.
Absolutely.
It means a lot, man. It means a lot. So anyway, does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? I've pretty much gone through most of what I want to say tonight on this show.
I think we covered this album very concisely in as quick a fashion as we could, and yet not trying to cram our way through anything. I enjoyed the whole conversation.
I did too. Better at this as a group.
I think we're getting better at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, at this point then, folks, I want to thank all my co-hosts, Michael, Chris, Nick. Thank you guys so much for helping. Look at that. I love that. Thank you guys so much for helping out here and carrying the show. And then, of course,
gosh, Roy, stop it.
Of course, I want
blushing.
to thank everybody in the chat. If there's is anybody out there that hasn't hit the thumbs up button yet, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. If there's anybody out there that hasn't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get a one-time notification on the next show that's coming up. So anyway,
and if you are one that has hit a thumbs up or has subscribed, tell your mom, tell your brother, tell your sister, tell your papa.
Yeah. Thank you. I can't say enough about how much the chat means to me and to all of us, really. And really appreciate you guys so much, and love seeing you here. Love seeing you come back. It's a big thing when you come back to me. I mean, believe me, I'm taking mental notes of all this, and I really appreciate it. So on that note, guys, Piccolina and Eric Schultz, I'm so glad we got the issue worked out, Eric. So anyway, folks, thank you all so much. And that's what's going on in Royce's world today. Thank you so much, everybody. And
good night,
good night, everybody.
Good night.
Appreciate you.